Today we are going to continue our recap of Grotesquerie. This is part 3, so watch our other videos if you haven't. But if you'd like a quick summary, Lois is a detective who has a husband, Marshall, in a coma. She also has a big-back daughter who is purposefully gaining weight to be on a reality TV show. There's a killer who calls himself Grotesquerie that is purposefully targeting people that Lois knows in the community, from homeless people to prostitutes, and using religious symbolism when he displays the bodies. Some people have suspected Nurse Red, who is overseeing the care of Marshall, because Lois suspects it must be someone with surgical precision. There's a nun named Megan who has been helping Detective Lois solve the crime by decoding a lot of the religious connections at the crime scene. Sister Megan has the hots for Father Charlie, who is this foreign-ass man people like to call Daddy instead of Father Charlie. Last episode, Lois shot a masked man, and it was briefly revealed that it was Father Charlie. For some odd reason, the beginning of this episode barely brushed up on that. Now that you're caught up, let's continue. While drinking a lot, Lois is shocked when Merritt, Miss Backery, has revealed that she got casted on the Big Back reality TV show called Half-Ton Trauma, and she done stole Taylor Swift's man, Ed. They are in love and will move in together. Furious at the revelation, Lois says she puts Ed's tip in her mouth. Lois asks Ed if he enjoys lifting Merritt's acres of fleshy folds and wonders if he can even find her pink hole. Damn, this mother is criminal. She even says Merritt's obesity is so bad that her heart is encased with fat and her blood is the thickness of syrup. She adds that Marshall was a cheater who slept with his students, but Merritt refuses to believe a word she says. Ed and Merritt suggest Lois goes to rehab, but she says no. But Lois says no, she the baddest bitch. She leaves the restaurant throwing a fit. I gotta say, Niecy Nash is carrying this show with her acting. She better get some awards. While drunk, she throws away the files she has in her car as she drives away. She heads to the hospital and tells Dr. Lehman it's time to take Marshall off of life support. Nurse Red overhears the conversation and tries to butt in, but Lois is a badass and tells her to STFU. Lois floats to the vending machine and grabs herself a red vine, even though we Twizzlers folks. Nurse Red is the one tasked with unplugging Marshall, and Lois says it's the only thing she can do for Red, whom she believes is Marshall's true love. As the nurse takes Marshall off of life support, Lois reads him a poem from his favorite poet before making a toast. After the abrupt death of hot man Daddy Father Charlie, who is revealed to be the killer, Lois visits his home to look for more evidence. Oddly, she finds the same ventilation machine in Father Charlie's closet. She discovers books, plans, and drawings in connection with the murders. Something to note is she finds a medical record saying a woman's organs no longer function and life support will stop, just like what she did to her husband. Meanwhile, the bishop wants the publication to continue despite Father Charlie's death. He says this shit viral and making people attend church again. Sister Megan agrees, but she wants to take over as editor and publisher. After solving the case, Lois receives a surprise party at the precinct. Her happiness is cut short when Detective Hanover tells her to retire early, explaining that a huge part of the force will be replaced with artificial intelligence and robots. Oh, that's why I'm doing these voiceovers. Despite being promised to receive a full salary for life, Lois can't accept such a change. As Lois leaves the room furious, Hanover tells her to wake up. Some things to note is some of the balloons say, "Get well soon," and "Feel better," which I think will come up later in the show. After catching the killer, Megan comes over to Lois's house for dinner. Lois is surprised that the nun has recovered so fast, as if the shooting was part of an act. She insinuates that Sister Megan has something to do with the murders. The nun starts to feel uncomfortable knowing that Lois is suspecting her. This white bitch grabs the mayonnaise and dips some carrots into it. Megan tries to brush off the accusation, but Lois mentions how the murders are the only way for Father Charlie and Sister Megan to consummate their feelings. She is convinced that Father Charlie needed a helping hand to commit the crimes. Sister Megan snaps and speaks in tongues, suddenly starts to attack Lois. Lois drags her ass back into the kitchen, then Megan stabs Lois in the stomach, and Lois pours the boiling stock over the nun's head as they struggle to overpower each other. Then Lois crawls and grabs the gun, not realizing that Sister Megan is still alive. Then the nun pulls her back to the kitchen and stabs her over and over again. As Megan gets up, the scene changes to an alive Marshall, who can't believe that Merritt and Ed want a divorce. Merritt can't even stand being around her husband. Merritt says she's tired of her husband working at Cinnabon in the mall, while she herself is accomplished, has 2 PhDs, and not in Big Back. and she curing cancer. She admits she only married Ed because he know how to fuck. Ed admits he's been fucking Lois the past 2 years. Then Merritt clocks his ugly mullet and ordering onion rings. After hearing the truth, Marshall visits Lois, who is in a coma. He doesn't hide the fact that he hates her. He then tells Dr. Lehman that it's time to pull the plug and let Lois go, going as far as saying he doesn't want her body and the hospital can have it. Afterward, Marshall visits his mistress, Red, who is busy doing a show in front of the camera, probably on Omegle. Red thinks Marshall is being a hypocrite, despising Lois for sleeping with her son-in-law, when in fact Marshall is also a cheater who sleeps with his students. Officer Cranburn tells Chief of Police Megan that Andrea Solana's family is suing the force for mishandling the case. They think that had Lois done something when Andrea reported the domestic abuse, Andrea would still be alive. Chief Megan says that Lois did everything she could. Marshall signs the documents with Dr. Mayhew's help, while Merritt says goodbye to Lois. Y'all confused yet? Same. Basically, Father Charlie is a doctor in this scenario. Marshall gets angry when he spots Megan and tells her to leave. Megan explains that she admires Lois and that she wants to pay her respects. Marshall gets more furious when he sees Ed, so he closes the door to keep anyone else from coming in. Merritt argues with her father, saying that anyone should be allowed to say goodbye to Lois for the last time. She warns him that if he refuses, she'll be out of his life too. Marshall orders Dr. Mayhew to pull the plug, but Merritt threatens to sue the doctor if he does. Merritt says her goodbye to Lois and adds that she's already forgiven her. Just as Dr. Mayhew pulls the plug, the scene changes back to nun Megan pointing a gun. Lois grabs Sister Megan's leg, causing her to slip and hit her head. Lois then grabs the gun, pulls the trigger, and blows off the nun's head. At the same time, Lois wakes up from her coma. So basically, anything we saw before Lois was in a coma was her dreams. And it did feel like many dream sequences and nods that Lois was in a coma. Dr. Whitcomb, who deals in neuroimaging, meets with Merritt in connection to Lois's case. Miss Merritt over here, an accomplished girly. That's Dr. Big Back to all of y'all. Whitcomb says that Lois was in a liminal state and was very aware of her dreams. He thinks that if they study Lois's dreams, they can find a way to wake up comatose patients. Whitcomb tells Merritt she was on a show called Half-Ton Trauma in Lois's dreams. And Merritt is hurt by it, knowing her mother thought that way of her. As Lois tries to regain mobility, Dr. Mayhew tries to talk to Lois, but Lois hates him. She overheard him when she was still in a coma and is convinced the doctor wanted her dead. Meanwhile, Marshall tells Red that he's divorcing Lois and will be staying with Red for good. He admits Lois heard him wishing her dead when she was still in the hospital. Dr. Whitcomb interviews Megan next. He asks about Andrea Solana's case and the chief's relationship with Lois. Megan admits that Lois blew up Andrea's case, and when the woman was brought in, she was badly bruised all over her body. They had a retirement party for Lois, and the two had a fight over a purple Kool-Aid, reminiscent of the purple swimming pool a few episodes back, but also reminiscent of Andrea's bruised-up body. When Megan goes home, her deadbeat, fugly-ass husband, Justin, says he got hungry waiting for her. He beats her up like he usually does, but this time Megan threatens to shoot him. She tells Justin to leave, but he refuses to because it's his house. So Megan throws hot noodles to his face and drives away. She stays in a motel in the valley, the same one they stayed in at Lois's dream. The receptionist notices the black eye, but Megan refuses to talk about it. Lois tells Dr. Whitcomb that her dreams during her 6-week coma were very violent and real. However, Lois says she's unsure if she's dreaming right now. The doctor records their sessions and tries to put the dreams into context by comparing them with Lois's real life. He thinks that Lois dreamt of Marshall in a coma because she was losing control of their marriage, and that Megan was a nun in her dream because Megan always did the right thing while Lois always messed up. He explains that grotesquerie is a result of the long-term PTSD that Lois suffers because of the nature of her job. Dr. Mayhew became the killer in her dream life because he was willing to pull the plug on Lois. As for Maisie, who was Lois's housekeeper in real life, Lois dreamt of her as a baby killer, who Lois helped and empathized with, and in return helped her catch the killer. Maisie was a pro-life protester in her real life. Lois finally gets discharged from the hospital, and she releases her get-well balloon. Chief Megan is the only one to see her. Lois thinks that no one else is there to pick her up because of her dreams. Now, why the hell did the Dr. Dunn tell everyone what her dreams consist of? That's messy AF. Megan insists that she doesn't hate Lois, even though she had to deal with Andrea Solana's case after Lois messed up. Lois thanks Megan, then advises her to break free from her abusive relationship while she still can. Maisie is the only one who welcomes Lois at home. She says Dr. Whitcomb interviewed her too, and she told him that Lois has always been a good person. Lois still comes back to the hospital for the physical therapy, and Dr. Mayhew still tries to talk to her. Lois warns the doctor that she heard everything when she was still in a coma. Afterward, Maisie drives her to Merritt's house. Merritt hates that, in Lois's dream, she was a shut-in obese linebacker who depended on her mother, despite her having 2 postdoc degrees in real life. But she knew that was not the sin that Lois should apologize for. Lois explains that she slept with Ed because she was lonely and she found connection with him. Merritt snaps and slaps her mother so hard she almost went back into a coma, saying that Lois broke her heart with her betrayal. After the confrontation, Maisie comforts Lois when she returns, empathizing with what happened to her. This TV show is twisted, really has my head scratching, thinking that Lois might still be in her comatose state, like a dream within a dream type of shit. What did y'all think of this one? Only 2 more episodes left.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.